Have you ever wondered how warriors who ruled half the known world survived winters that could kill in minutes? Picture this: the Mongol steppes in January, where temperatures plummet to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, winds howl like demons, and snow blankets the earth for months. Now, here's the shocking part. The Mongols, the most feared warriors in history, conquered these brutal winters without a single fireplace. Wait, what? No fireplaces? That can't be right. Every survival manual, every winter cabin dream, every cozy movie scene tells us fire equals survival. Yet the Mongols built the largest contiguous empire in human history, stretching from Korea to Hungary, all while living in portable homes that couldn't accommodate traditional fireplaces. So how did they not only survive, but thrive in some of Earth's harshest winters? The answer will revolutionize how you think about staying warm. It's a masterclass in physics, efficiency, and ancient wisdom that makes our modern heating systems look primitive and wasteful. Today, we're diving deep into the ingenious thermal engineering that kept the world's most successful nomadic civilization warm, and how these forgotten techniques could save your life when modern technology fails. But first, we need to shatter the biggest myth about winter survival: that bigger fires mean better warmth. The truth about fireplaces is uncomfortable. That roaring fire you see crackling away in movie cabins, it's actually making the room colder. Here's why. A traditional fireplace is essentially a giant vacuum cleaner running in reverse. The massive chimney creates powerful drafts that suck heated air out of the room and pull freezing outside air in through every crack and crevice. Studies show that up to 90% of the heat generated by a fireplace disappears up the chimney, taking the room's warm air with it. Think about it from a physics perspective. Fire needs oxygen to burn. Where does that oxygen come from? The room you're trying to heat. As the fire consumes oxygen and sends hot gases up the chimney, it creates negative pressure that draws cold air in from outside. You're literally paying to heat the outdoors while making your living space colder. The Mongols understood something we've forgotten. The goal isn't to create heat, it's to trap and circulate it efficiently. Their solution was revolutionary in its simplicity. Instead of fighting the cold with brute force, Mongols embraced the physics of radiant heating. At the center of every gur, their portable felt homes, sat a small, carefully designed fire pit. No chimney, no stone hearth, no wasteful draft system. Just a simple metal brazier that burned dried animal dung, the perfect fuel for their needs. Wait, animal dung. Before you wrinkle your nose, understand this. Dried yak and horse dung burns hotter than wood, produces minimal smoke, and creates incredibly consistent heat. It's basically nature's charcoal. The Mongols had discovered the ultimate renewable fuel source that was literally everywhere their herds went. But here's where it gets fascinating. The gir's design created a natural thermal system that would make modern engineers weep with envy. The felt walls, made from compressed sheep's wool, provided extraordinary insulation. We're talking about our values that rival modern synthetic materials. The circular shape eliminated heat-robbing corners where cold air could stagnate. And the crown opening at the top? That wasn't just for smoke. It was a precisely engineered ventilation system. The smoke hole worked on the same principle as a jet engine. Hot air rises, creating natural convection that pulled fresh oxygen in at ground level while expelling combustion gases at the top. The beauty was in the control. Felt flaps could adjust the opening size based on wind conditions and outside temperature. On calm days, they'd open it wide for maximum ventilation. During storms, they'd nearly close it, creating a perfect seal while maintaining just enough draft to keep the fire burning clean. This system was so efficient that a single fire the size of a dinner plate could heat a space that housed 8 to 10 people, keeping the interior a comfortable 70 degrees when it was -40 outside. That's a temperature difference of over 100 degrees maintained by a fire you could carry in a bucket. But the real genius wasn't in the fire. It was in everything surrounding it. The Mongols understood that heat moves in 3 ways: conduction, convection, and radiation. While their fire handled radiation and convection, they had to master conduction to survive, specifically preventing their body heat from being sucked away by the frozen ground. Their solution was a multi-layered system that NASA would appreciate. The gear floor wasn't bare earth. It was covered with thick felt carpets made from the same wool as the walls. But underneath these carpets lay the secret weapon, layers of dried grass and animal hides that created thousands of tiny air pockets. Air is one of the nature's best insulators when it's trapped and still. By creating this network of insulation, they built a barrier between their bodies and the heat sink of frozen earth. On top of this foundation, they spread their sleeping furs, primarily wolf, bear, and sheepskins with the fur intact. These weren't just blankets, they were engineering marvels. Animal fur has hollow hairs that trap warm air while wicking moisture away from the body. A wolf fur can maintain its insulating properties even when damp, something synthetic materials still struggle to match. But here's where Mongol winter strategy gets truly sophisticated. They understood that the human body is itself a heating system. An adult at rest generates about 100 watts of heat, roughly equivalent to a bright light bulb. 8 people sleeping together in a ger created 800 watts of heating power, distributed evenly and continuously throughout the night. This wasn't just about sharing warmth, it was about creating a thermal system. Bodies positioned strategically around the central fire created convection currents that circulated air efficiently. The combination of radiant heat from the fire, insulation from the felt walls and floor coverings, and shared body heat created a microclimate that was not just survivable, but genuinely comfortable. Modern thermal imaging studies of reconstructed Mongol gers show that this system maintains remarkably even temperatures throughout the space. No cold corners, no hot spots, just consistent, comfortable warmth that adapts naturally to outside conditions. Now let's talk about the ultimate Mongol winter survival tool, their clothing system. While we fumble with bulky winter coats and layer upon layer of synthetic materials, the Mongols perfected a clothing system that was lighter, warmer, and more functional than anything we wear today. The foundation was silk. Yes, silk. Mongol warriors wore silk shirts next to their skin because silk has unique properties. It's incredibly strong, naturally antibacterial, and creates a perfect base layer that wicks moisture while maintaining insulation even when wet. Chinese silk was so valued that Mongols often accepted it as tribute instead of gold. Over the silk went layers of wool felt, the same material used in their homes. Felt is essentially non-woven wool that's been compressed and matted together. It's naturally water-resistant, windproof, and maintains its insulating properties even in extreme conditions. The Mongols could create felt clothing that was simultaneously flexible and protective, allowing full range of motion while providing serious thermal protection. The outer layer was the deal, a long robe made of silk, cotton, or leather, depending on the season and the wearer's status. What made the deal brilliant was its design. It could be wrapped and adjusted to create more or less insulation as needed. In bitter cold, warriors would wrap their dells tightly and add fur-lined outer robes. In milder conditions, they could loosen and adjust for ventilation. But the deal had another crucial function. It created a chimney effect. Warm air from the body rose up through the loose robe and exited at the neck, while fresh air entered at the bottom. This natural ventilation prevented the buildup of moisture and sweat that can turn insulation deadly in cold weather. Their boots were masterpieces of winter engineering. Made from felt with leather soles, they were designed to be worn with thick wool socks and could accommodate heated stones. Portable foot warmers that kept extremities from freezing during long winter rides. The boots were intentionally loose, creating air pockets for insulation while allowing circulation to prevent frostbite. And then there were their hats. Mongol winter hats weren't just head coverings. They were life support systems. Made from fur with ear flaps and neck protection, they could completely enclose the head when needed. Since you lose up to 40% of your body heat through your head, these hats were literally the difference between life and death. The entire clothing system worked together as thermal engineering. Each layer had a specific function, and the whole system could be adjusted and modified based on activity level, weather conditions, and individual needs. A Mongol warrior could go from riding in a blizzard to sleeping in a warm gear without changing clothes, just adjusting how the layers were worn. But clothing was just part of a larger system that included the most important winter survival tool of all: food as fuel. The Mongol diet was essentially rocket fuel for the human heating system. Their winter diet consisted almost entirely of meat, dairy, and fermented maize milk, foods incredibly high in protein and fat. This wasn't by accident. The process of digesting protein actually generates heat through what scientists call diet-induced thermogenesis. The Mongols were literally eating warmth. Fat was especially crucial. A high-fat diet provides slow-burning energy that helps maintain core body temperature over long periods. The Mongols consume massive quantities of mutton fat, horse fat, and yak butter. To modern palates, this might sound revolting, but these foods were perfectly adapted to their environment. Fat contains 9 calories per gram compared to 4 calories per gram for carbohydrates, more than twice the energy density. Their fermented maize milk, called airag, was particularly ingenious. The fermentation process created alcohol, which has several cold weather benefits. It provides quick energy, helps maintain circulation, and has antifreeze properties that help prevent tissues from freezing. Irag could be stored frozen and thawed as needed, providing crucial nutrients and calories even in the depths of winter. The Mongols also practiced intermittent feasting. When food was abundant, they would eat enormous quantities, building up fat reserves for lean times. Modern research shows this eating pattern helps the body become more efficient at burning fat for fuel, essentially turning humans into better biological heaters. They understood something we've forgotten in our age of constant snacking. The human body is designed to go through cycles of plenty and scarcity, and these cycles actually make us more resilient and better adapted to extreme conditions. But perhaps the most crucial element of Mongol winter survival was something that can't be quantified or engineered: community. Survival in extreme cold isn't just about staying warm, it's about staying alive mentally and emotionally. The long, dark winters of the steppes could be psychologically devastating. Isolation kills as surely as cold does. The Mongols understood that winter survival was fundamentally a social activity. Gears weren't just shelters, they were social hubs. Extended families lived in clustered camps where people could easily move between dwellings, share resources, and maintain social connections. The evening gathering around the central fire wasn't just about warmth, it was about storytelling, music, games, and the human connections that make survival worthwhile. They had elaborate systems for sharing resources during harsh winters. If one family's food ran low, the community would provide. If someone's gear was damaged, the whole group would help repair it. This mutual aid wasn't charity, it was survival strategy. In an environment where individual failure could mean death, community resilience was the ultimate insurance policy. The Mongols also understood that mental state directly affects physical survival. Stress, depression, and anxiety all compromise the immune system and reduce the body's ability to generate and maintain heat. By maintaining social connections, sharing stories, and creating meaning even in the darkest times, they protected not just their bodies, but their will to survive. This community approach extended to their animals. Mongol herds weren't just food sources, they were partners in survival. Horses, yaks, sheep, and camels all provided different benefits: transportation, milk, meat, hides, and fuel. But they also provided warmth. Animals generate significant heat, and Mongols often sheltered their most valuable animals in or near their gears during the worst weather. The relationship between Mongols and their animals was so close that they could read subtle behavioral changes that predicted weather patterns. Animals sense barometric pressure changes and approaching storms long before humans do. By watching their herds, Mongols could prepare for severe weather days in advance. Now, here's where this ancient wisdom becomes immediately practical for you. These aren't just historical curiosities, they're proven survival techniques that work just as well today as they did 800 years ago. Let's start with the most important lesson: heat efficiency. If you're ever in a situation where modern heating fails, power outages, camping, emergency situations, remember the Mongol approach. Small, controlled heat sources are more efficient than large ones. A small fire in the center of a space, properly ventilated, will heat that space more effectively than a large fire at one end. The physics haven't changed. Radiant heat warms objects directly without wasting energy, heating air that just escapes. If you're heating with wood, focus on creating a small, hot fire rather than a large, inefficient one. Use reflectors, pieces of metal, or even aluminum foil to direct heat where you need it, rather than letting it disperse in all directions. Ground insulation is crucial and often overlooked. In any cold weather situation, your priority should be getting off the ground. Cardboard, newspapers, pine needles, dried grass, anything that creates air pockets between you and the cold surface. The Mongols used felt and furs, but the principle remains the same. Trapped air is your best insulator. For modern applications, consider this. A thin emergency blanket combined with natural materials like pine needles can create insulation that rivals expensive sleeping pads. Emergency blankets work by reflecting radiant heat, while natural materials create the air pockets that prevent conductive heat loss. The layering system is immediately applicable. Instead of one thick coat, wear multiple thin layers that can be adjusted. This allows you to regulate temperature by adding or removing layers, and it creates multiple air barriers for insulation. The Mongol silk-based layer can be replicated with modern, moisture-wicking synthetics, but the principle is identical. Keep moisture away from your skin while maintaining insulation. For emergency situations, remember that your body is a heating system. Group together for warmth. It's not just about sharing heat, it's about creating a thermal environment. Emergency shelters should be sized for the number of people using them. too big, and you're wasting heat warming empty air. Too small, and you can't benefit from shared body heat and may create dangerous carbon dioxide buildup. The Mongol diet strategy has modern applications too. In cold weather, your body needs more calories and specifically more fat and protein. These macronutrients not only provide energy, but actually help generate heat through digestion. If you're going to be in cold conditions, plan your meals accordingly. High-fat foods like nuts, olive oil, and yes, even butter aren't just comfort foods, they're survival foods. But here's the most important modern lesson from Mongol winter survival: redundancy and adaptability. The Mongols didn't rely on a single heating method or survival strategy. They had multiple systems that worked together and could compensate if one element failed. Their fire heated the air, their clothing trapped body heat, their shelter provided wind protection, their food fueled internal heat generation, and their community provided backup and support. Modern survival thinking often focuses on single solutions: the best sleeping bag, the perfect fire starter, the ultimate emergency shelter. The Mongols show us that survival is about systems, not gear. It's about understanding how different elements work together and having backup plans for when primary systems fail. This systems thinking applies beyond survival situations. Modern homes could benefit from Mongol principles, instead of relying entirely on central heating systems that heat the entire house to the same temperature. Whether you're using that space or not, consider zone heating. Small, efficient heaters in the spaces you're actually using, combined with good insulation and draft control, can be more comfortable and far more energy efficient. The Mongol community approach also has modern relevance. In emergency situations, isolated individuals are far more vulnerable than connected communities. Building relationships with neighbors, having mutual aid agreements, and maintaining social connections aren't just nice, they're survival strategies. Consider this. In major power outages, communities that work together, sharing resources, checking on vulnerable members, pooling knowledge and skills, have consistently better outcomes than areas where people try to handle emergencies individually. The Mongol understanding of the human body as a heating system also has immediate applications. Regular physical activity generates heat and improves circulation, making you better able to stay warm in cold conditions. They understood that fitness wasn't just about strength or endurance. It was about thermal regulation. Their approach to mental resilience is equally relevant. Maintaining purpose, social connections, and mental engagement during difficult times isn't luxury. It's survival necessity. Stress and isolation compromise physical health and decision-making ability. The Mongol emphasis on storytelling, music, and social gathering during long winters was survival strategy disguised as entertainment. But perhaps the most profound lesson from Mongol winter survival is about relationship with environment. Instead of trying to dominate or ignore natural conditions, they adapted to work with them. They used available materials, followed natural patterns, and built systems that were in harmony with rather than opposition to their environment. This approach is increasingly relevant as climate change makes extreme weather more common and as supply chain disruptions make us more vulnerable to shortages of modern conveniences. Understanding how to work with natural systems, use local materials, and create resilient communities isn't just historically interesting, it's becoming practically necessary. The Mongol legacy teaches us that true resilience comes not from having the most advanced technology, but from understanding fundamental principles and having the flexibility to apply them creatively. Their winter survival techniques worked not because they had access to superior materials or equipment, but because they understood physics, biology, and social dynamics at a deep level. As we face our own challenges, whether personal emergencies, natural disasters, or broader social disruptions, we can learn from people who survived and thrived in some of the harshest conditions on Earth, not by copying their exact methods, but by understanding the principles behind their success and adapting those principles to our own circumstances. The Mongols proved that with knowledge, community, and adaptability, humans can not only survive, but flourish in conditions that seem impossible. They built the largest land empire in history, not despite the harsh winters of the steppes, but because those winters taught them lessons about resilience, efficiency, and cooperation that made them unstoppable. Their legacy reminds us that the most powerful survival tool isn't any piece of gear or technology. It's knowledge. Knowledge of how heat works, how the human body responds to cold, how communities can support each other, and how to adapt when circumstances change. In our modern world of central heating and instant comfort, we've become disconnected from these fundamental realities. But as the Mongols showed us, mastering the basics of staying warm isn't just about survival. It's about understanding how to thrive in challenging conditions and building the resilience to face whatever comes next. The next time you see a massive fireplace roaring away in a movie, remember the Mongol warrior in his felt gear, warmed by a fire small enough to hold in his hands, protected by clothing lighter than a modern winter coat, surrounded by community, and thriving in conditions that would challenge our most advanced survival gear. True mastery isn't about having the biggest, most expensive equipment. It's about understanding principles so deeply that you can adapt them to any situation, work with whatever materials you have, and create systems that are both efficient and resilient. The Mongols conquered the world not with superior firepower alone, but with superior knowledge of how to live and thrive in the most challenging environments on Earth. That knowledge is as valuable today as it was 8 centuries ago, and unlike expensive survival gear, it can never be lost, stolen, or broken, only forgotten. Which is why we must remember,